Alright, hi everyone, welcome back to another tutorial of Salesforce Makes Sense, and in this video we are going to talk about events and notifications, right? So what I want you guys to think about is we use @API to pass any kind of data from parent to child, correct? So that's very easy and very straightforward. We can pass any kind of information, primitive or non-primitive, but how do you pass data from child to parent? That's the concern, and that's where we come into this events and notifying parent that we have something in our store, in the child store, that we want to send it to you, and we basically send it to parents via something that's called custom events. That's what we're going to talk about in the lecture today. All right, so think of the child component as a student filling out a form or a exam sheet, right? And the parent component is basically the teacher who's collecting the exam answer sheet after the time is over. Now if the student has done the entire form, right? So if the student has done the entire form, what he or she is going to do is not going to hand it over directly to the teacher, correct? What they're going to do is they're going to raise their hand, and when they raise their hand, the teacher would know, okay, I need to pick some information from this particular student. They'll go to the student and pick that information, correct? Or that form. Now think of the child component as the student who's filling out the form. Perfect. And the parent component is basically the teacher who's collecting it. All right, now the student or the child is going to raise their hand, which means they are going to fire an event. This event is a custom event, and the teacher is going to collect the data by an event listener. What is that event listener? The hand being raised or the event that is fired. That's the whole idea. All right, so if I were to go to Salesforce and let's go ahead and create a new component. So I'm going to create a new component which is called child to parent events. All right, I'll create this. Now we need two things. We need a parent component and a child component. So I'm going to consider this particular component as the parent component. All right, so I'm going to say lightning card title is equal to parent component. Perfect. And I'm going to take the same thing and I'm going to create a child component. Just setting up the setup. Create a component child to trigger event. Okay, I'll just give this name. All right, in the child, I'll just go ahead and create this particular template again, and this is my child component. So far so good. Let's go to the child to parent HTML, and here I'll just expose this particular component, and I'm going to say target lightning app page. Done. Deploy. All right, let's go back here. Let's click on the edit page. Let's close the console, and I'll just replace this component, and I'll put our new component on the div right here. All right, let's see. Parent child lifecycle hooks is here. I'll have to see if my component has shown up. I'll move this here, and this is deployed. What is the name of the component? Child to parent is deployed, and I also need to, I believe, deploy both. Let me deploy this, and let's deploy this. Basically deploying everything. Done. So child to parent events is basically my parent component. So child to parent is not showing up here. Let's refresh. And now let's hope we are able to see our component. It's still not visible. Why is that? Child to parent events. All right, that's my parent component, and I've exposed it and I've said lightning app page, right? So let me just say deploy one more time, and this is my child event trigger. This is also saved. I'll just go ahead and say deploy here. Okay, let's go back. Let's refresh one more time. Move this out. Scroll down. Okay, looks like it's not showing up for some reason. Let's leave the page and edit it again. edit. Oh, this is not visible for some reason. What is this? This is a home page. What have I written? Have I written app page? Yeah, that's a mistake. So this should be home page, save, deploy. Sorry, my bad. Let's close both of these. Let's go back, refresh. And yeah, it is visible now, right? So child to parent will show up here. I'm going to get rid of this here. I'll say save. All right. So the parent is created and I want to actually call the child component from my parent. So what am I going to do? I'm going to say C hyphen. Now what is the child name? Child event trigger. So child event trigger, that's the name, correct? So what are we going to do? We are going to replace the capital T with small, put a hyphen, replace the capital E with small e, put a hyphen. That's the name of my component, correct? Just take this component and paste it in the closing tag also. Done. Double C is not correct. Fine, working fine, perfect. Now if we were to put or pass any data from parent to child, we were doing something like this. Username is equal to, correct? That is what we were doing. But now the game is about passing data from a child, which is this particular component here, to the parent. How do you do that? Right? So what am I going to do? Let's kind of set up a scenario. I'll do a button here. Label is equal to publish data to parent. Okay, this is the name of my button. On click of this button, I want to trigger something, right? What do I want to trigger? I want to trigger handle button click. Okay, or let's say handle firing event, handle firing event. Done. Now this method has to be declared in my JS file. I'm going to declare this method. This method does what? It basically does nothing, but it is basically kind of setting up a value which is a Geely Coolray. Let's say that's the name of the product. Now this product is a variable. I need to define it. So I'll define it as a value here so I can use it. Cool. So far so good. This dot selected product is Geely Coolray. If I were to go to the HTML and I were to look at this particular value, this will render when the button is clicked, correct? So I'm just going to put all of this inside a div, put my favorite class so that things are equally spaced, and I'm going to put it here, apply the indentation so that the code looks a bit neat, and I'm going to say deploy. I have not done anything around the topic that we are discussing right now. I'm just setting up doing the setup first of all. Okay. Now what have I done? I've created a child component. I've created a parent component. The parent component is basically calling the child, and in that child component I have a button. When you click that button, I have a method here. That method is basically setting the value of a variable. That variable is showing up here. Perfect. Deployed. Let's go to the browser. Let's say save here. Let's go back and let's see our component in action. So I have a button. So when I say publish data, you see Geely Coolray shows up. That's the name of the selected product, and it is only showing after the value has populated. It is empty by default. So far so good. Now what I want you to do is I want you to take this value and show it here after this parent component. Basically what I'm trying to say is I want you to pass this information from the child to the parent. How do you do that? That's where custom events come in picture. So custom events come in picture to send this data to parent, right? So when you click this button, you have a use case that you need to send it to the parent. Now how will you send this variable to a parent? That's the ask, correct? So what are we going to do is we are going to create a custom event. Just see, understand this bit. It's very simple. It's no confusion. Believe me, when I started understanding it, I thought, oh my God, this is so complex coding. But when I understood how to write it, it was all sorted. Okay. So now see, I'm sitting on the child level. Imagine that example. Okay. The child level, meaning that student who has to submit their paper. So they have to raise their hand. Correct. Now, how do you raise a hand here? By creating a new custom event. Okay, when you create an event, see, this is an event, so it is going to be a function, and you'll put a bracket here. At least this logic is fine. This much is fine, right? Now what do you need to do? You basically first of all are creating an event, so you have to give a name to your event. Okay, so you'll say send selected, send product prod selected. Just keep this name. Send prod selected, meaning send product selected. Let's put it more clear. So this is the name that you are creating as a custom event, that I am going to raise my hand. So this is basically nothing but raise my hand. Makes sense? So it's called send product selected. Now, when I do this, I have to tell the system what do I want to pass. So the parameters that you want to pass or send to your parent is going to be listed here, and you are going to use detail as the tag. What does this mean? See, this means you are creating an event, you're giving a name to the event, and you're passing a detail. You're passing some information to that event. What is that information? That information is this dot selected product. Just pass it as is. Done. Remove this bracket from here. Done. Okay. What have you written here? You have actually written your entire custom event. That's it. You've already done it. Nothing fancy. What did you do? You created a custom event by creating a new custom event. You gave it a name and then you passed a parameter to it by using the detail variable. Inside the detail variable, whatever you pass is basically going to be sent to the parent. That's the understanding. Makes sense? Now you've created the event, right? You have to assign it to the variable. So I'm going to say const event. I'm just going to give it a name. Const event is equal to this particular event. Now my event is created, meaning my question paper is, my answer sheet is completely full. I need to finally raise my hand so that the teacher notices. Correct? So I have to dispatch my event. That I am raising my hand. So dispatch my event. Now what event do you want to dispatch? This particular event that you declared here. And that is basically you raising your hand. And that is it. That is all you need to actually trigger an event from a child level so that the parent can listen it. 90% of the work is done from the child level. You did your part. Now the parent has to do its part, right? So you are going to trigger this particular event. Now, I am going to go ahead and deploy it first of all, so that just to check if everything looks fine. Deployed. So my event has been dispatched, event has been created, it has been given some values, it has been dispatched. Someone has to receive the courier, right? Who's going to receive the courier? The parent component. So on the parent component, what you want to do is you want to actually listen to this event. How do you do that? You take this event name, you come to the parent and you simply say on send product selected, meaning the event that I published there, if that happens on, why am I putting a on? Because all the event listeners are using on, right? What is the event listener? Event listener is a on click, on change, on key up, on key down. So on click is the event, but it is a standard event. You are creating a custom event. So instead of click, you are saying send product selected. So that's why you are saying on send product selected. Whenever this is called, I want to trigger a method from my side, handle product selection. This now becomes a method on the parent, and I'll define this method here and I'll create this method. Now this method is not a plain method. Why? It is going to receive a parameter called event, because a custom event has been dispatched. Remember, event has been dispatched. When someone dispatches an event, you are going to receive an event, and when you receive an event, you know what is inside it. What is inside it? Detail is inside it. Correct? So event dot detail is basically what you are going to store in a variable here. For example, I'll define this variable as empty for now, and then we are going to use this variable on the parent component to see the value. Parent component. Done. So by default, this value is going to be empty. The child will basically, if you go to the child event trigger, I'll go to the child event trigger. There is a button. That button will be clicked. On click, a method will be called. When that method is called, a event will be created, data will be published into it, and it will be dispatched. As soon as it is dispatched, someone who knows that this is going to happen will listen to it. So whenever this happens, the parent is going to handle it. How the parent is going to handle it? They are going to call a method. That method is defined on the parent level, and when that method is called, it has a variable called event, because someone dispatched the event, I received the event. Inside that event there's a detail value. That detail value can be accessible by a dot operator, because this is an object dot attribute. I'll put it in a dummy value, and that dummy value I'll receive and show it here. That's all I'm wanting to do. And if I were to deploy both of my components and test it out, hoping most likely the event will work as expected. Okay, so see, currently if I refresh, let's see, both have been deployed. I'll refresh my component. So received this value from child, nothing has been received yet. But when I click on this button, see, Gili Coolray has been defined on the child level, and the same has been passed to the parent, and that parent is able to receive information, and data has been successfully passed from child to parent. It is as simple as that. There's nothing complex here. If you take a look at this tutorial one more time, that's it. You are ready to pass any kind of information from child to parent. You might ask, Himanshu, you showed me a very simple example of a string. Okay, Himanshu is going to now show you an example of an object. Okay, so I'll just do a dummy object. All right, so I'm going to say ID is equal to 1, name is equal to Gili Coolray. All right, now this is an object, right? I'm going to define it as an object, let's say. Perfect. And I'm going to pass this object now to the detail. All right, and if I were to pass this to my detail, this means my detail is going to hold an object here. So when this is going to hold an object, what can I do? I can say show final value dot ID and show final value dot name. Let me see the nomenclature. The ID and the name both are small, so I have to say n should be small here. Done. Let's say deploy. Let's see how it looks. Deployed. Let's go to Safari. Let's say refresh. Okay, there's something wrong. Show final value dot ID. Okay, this is going to fail because it does not exist yet. So what am I going to do? I'm simply going to say template if LWC if, and I'm going to put a flag that only show this value when a value exists. Okay, I'm going to say LWC if event received. Now what is this event received? This event received is basically a flag that is initially set to false, but it will be set to true whenever the event is received. Makes sense? And I'm going to just make this final value also as an object. Done. Let's say deploy. This will be deployed. This will also be deployed. Let's test if this works out or not. Refresh. Okay, so you see that there's an object sitting on the child level because I created an object now, right? But when I say publish, that same object is now being passed to the parent with ID and the name. So not just a string, but you can pass an object. You can pass as array of object. Even that can be done. Make sense? So you might ask, Himanshu, why don't you show us something which is more a bit more complex and more real? Let's do that. Let's do that. So show final value is now going to be a value which contains 3 different things, right? So I'm going to use, let's not do it here. First of all, this is going to be an object in the child. This is my variable, correct? Now this variable is not going to take just one value. It is going to take multiple values. How do you do multiple values? So for example, you have this dot selected product and this dot active product. Okay, let's say now you need to pass active product also to the detail or to your parent. Now how do you do that? Can you do a comma here and pass it? No, it is not possible. So how do you do that? So in that case, your detail becomes an object because you need to pass multiple keys. So instead of passing just a plain attribute, you create an object here, right? And what do? You say selected product is equal to this dot selected product. Okay. Then you pass another key. Okay, let's say you pass the timestamp. Okay, the timestamp is basically, let's say, current date dot, let's say, to ISO string. Okay, I'll just use a function. So I'm going to pass this to information, or let's say I'll pass one more information, selected by, I'll put Himanshu. Done. Now you notice, what did I do? I'm not passing just one value or two values. Now I'm passing multiple values, out of which the selected product is an object, timestamp is a time, selected by is a string. 3 different values I'm passing. But the detail is powerful enough to hold multiple values. So you have to convert the detail into an object. When you do that, let's go ahead and say deploy first of all, and then we'll listen to this on the parent side. Okay, so I have this 3 information that I'm passing. So when I come to the parent, whenever the send product selected is going to be called, on that happens, handle product selection will be called. Handle product selection is here, and this is where event.detail comes into picture. Now event.detail has to be mapped to this values that I have. Now I have 3 values. So what do? I don't map it with 1. I map it with 3 different values. Make sense? So what I'll do is I'll create 3 different variables. I'll say selected product, I'll say timestamp, and I'll say selected by. All right, and this is what is going to hold event.detail. All right, let me just define these 3 guys outside selected product so that I can show it to you. Selected product is going to be an object. Timestamp, I'll just keep it as is without any dummy values or default values. Selected by, I'll just say is equal to unknown as of now. So when you see it on the screen on the HTML side of the parent, you will see, okay, I still don't know what it is. So now selected product dot ID is what I want to see alongside the name of the product. That's one thing. I also want to see the timestamp of when it has happened or when it has been sent to us on the parent level, and I also want to see who has selected this. Product has been curated by whoever is this person. Cool. And I'm going to remove this const, and I want to use this value, basically whatever is the value from event.detail. So it says unexpected token LWC. Let's see, I might have to declare it, and let me just try to use it here. Okay, let me not define it here for now. I'll just use it directly here. Okay, let's console log it, and then I'll show it to you on the screen. Cool. Let's give it a test. Let's see how it looks. Refresh. So when I load the page, you see that there's an object here, but I cannot see it because it is listed as an object. So if I were to go to the child event trigger.html, the selected product.id would give a value, correct? So if I go to selected product.id, is going to give me a value. And selected product dot name is going to give me another value, and the remaining 2 values I'm passing to the detail directly. I don't have a variable in the child, let's say. Okay, just simulating a scenario, but I'm trying to show you that all kind of things are possible, and it is very straightforward. It's nothing complicated. Okay, so now if you see with child, there is no value right now because publish data has not been clicked, because this only sets up when the handle firing event is called, correct? So when I say publish data, you see child1 Gilly Cool Ray on the child level, and now receive this value from child1 Gilly Cool Ray. This is the timestamp, and product has been curated by Himanshu Maheshwari. All of that is coming from the child to the parent. How powerful is that? And with that, I can now tell you that you are good enough to actually write parent-child components, pass information from the parent to child, take information from the child to parent. That's all. You see, was there anything that was too complicated? You just need to know the process. What is the process? On the child level, you need to first of all set and then create an event. Why is it, why do you, because you are creating an event, it is not a standard event, it is a custom event, correct? Now when it is a custom event, you have to name your event. So you name a event. Once you name an event, you go to the parent HTML, and wherever the child has been declared, you put that on keyword and give the name. Just copy the name from here, immediately do it. Just don't even write the code here first, go to the child and just put it here. Done. And based on that, call a method on the parent level. On that method, you will always have event.detail available if you are using the event as the parameter, because event will always come. Once you have done that, inside this bracket is what you do the magic, where detail is the name of the variable that you always have, event.detail. Inside that detail, you can pass one value, you can pass one value with multiple values, you can pass an object, you can pass multiple objects, you can pass key value pairs, so you can pass an object. All of this can be done. You can either do this, or you can just pass a simple string also. Any and everything is possible. I did a string, then I passed an object, then I passed multiple values, multiple objects, as in, like, one date object, one string object, and one proper object. Make sense? Great. I hope I was able to explain you this. And just one more thing, once you are done with the detail creation, you dispatch that event. If you don't write this line, if you forget this, because it's a very small line, parent will never receive anything, because you did not raise your hand, right? So no one will know that you've completed your paper. Cool? Great. So what I want you guys to do now is just write a message, put a comment, and tell me that, custom events make sense. Okay, and if this was too fast for you, or this is something that's very much new to you, take a look at the topic again, or maybe just listen to it in 0.75x. Okay, for those of you who have been following along, I hope the tutorials are really helping. Coming to the next slide, tips and best practices. Always name your custom events in lowercase, meaning name change. You see what did I do here? Just see, here I've kept everything small. So don't do things like SPS like this. Don't do that. In case of a event naming should always be all small letters, because then that kebab case to camel case problem might come up, right? So you want to keep it in a single word. So that single word should basically only be happen if all the letters are in small case. And any kind of simple or complex objects that you want, you can use event.detail. I showed you. Event.detail is capable of carrying any and every kind of information that you want to send from child to parent. All right. Great. With that done, I would like to close this tutorial and the topic here, and I would leave you thinking with a question. How would you handle passing data to two different unrelated components? Now here what you see is basically you have a parent where you are calling the child, and that's why you're able to write this code, correct? But what if you had a different component altogether? It was not a parent child, it was sibling 1, sibling 2. In that case, how would you handle sending data? Just think about it and put a comment if you know the answer, or how would you handle it, or probably write a code snippet, a short one. All right, great. That's all I wanted to cover as part of this tutorial. I hope this was helpful. Do like the video, share it with your friends, put it on the LinkedIn so that the community can grow bigger. And I'll thank you all for being grateful and being kind on the comments. Keep practicing, keep learning, and keep getting better so that all of it makes sense. All right, great. That's all from this tutorial. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.